Okay, thank you. Before I continue, I'm trying to send a message out to Norman Brooks. Norman does a fabulous job. He does all the write-ups of the meetings that you see in the APN. And I wanted to thank him, first of all, for the fabulous summaries he does. I look at them myself sometimes, like, did I say that on that page? He's like, yeah, he captured it all. That's great. But I also wanted to say, Norman, I'm not sure if I sent you an email or not. Don Kelly's presentation, he's prepared a list of all the songs. So what I'll do is I'll take a copy of it and send it to you, so you don't have to write down each song that Don's talking about. What, the list?
Is that the Norman Brooks or a family member?
He's in Halifax.
No,
no relation to the Al Jolson.
Ah, okay. Thank you. At least you knew.
Yeah, at least you're paying attention and you're there, Norman.
Yeah, no, I've got a 78 with Norman Brooks on it. So.
I have 5 of them. I'd be happy to make you copies as soon as I get my phonograph set up.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're going to continue on with our meeting now, and I'll leave it to Don Kelly to take it away. Thank you.
Ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille?
There you go.
I'm going to have to sit, my back is screwed up, so.
We were running heads today.
Only part of me. There we go. Anyway, I'm Don Kelly. Most of you know me, but I'm the floor show for today. Gets better. And I'm playing some recordings all from the 20s. Some well-known artists, others somewhat obscure. I also brought along this book, which sort of runs thematically through some of these recordings. Some of you may be familiar with this shocking volume, Hollywood Babylon. All right. I was absolutely mortified when I looked in the index of this book and I found people who I had recordings by, and they got into certain various forms of trouble in Hollywood, or were known for one thing, famous or infamous. And I'm surprised how many of these people I actually had records by. I'm shocked, absolutely shocked. So it runs through this whole thing as a sort of theme or leitmotif through here. So I'll be dealing with the 20s instead of going a tedious history lesson. Most of us are familiar with the social changes during the 1920s and certainly economic ones. And of course, society is reflected in the music that they listen to. The generation who bought these records, who were young, say teens or early 20s, 30s, at the time these records were sold, were a completely different generation from the generation that preceded it during World War I. In the United States, the costs of the war in terms of human costs were nothing compared to what Britain, France, Germany, Belgium went through. So it would appear to me, at least during the 1920s, that World War I, although it had occurred maybe a generation before, was as ancient as the Roman pyramids to people growing up in the 1920s. It was a period of great social change, as I said, and you will certainly see this in the records, the hedonism of Hollywood, general carryings on, the dance styles, which became scandalously freewheeling during the 1920s, and also fueled by booze, all right? Once Hollywood was described by someone, I can't remember who it was, as a three-legged stool. And the 3 legs that supported it were sex, drugs, and money. Not necessarily in that order, but it certainly ran through much of Hollywood, and today is probably not much different. We'll pass this book around. There are some pictures of some of the characters who appear on the records in here, starting with Fatty Arbuckle, who did not make any records, but some of you know the sad case of Fatty Arbuckle. So there's a shot of poor Fatty in here hugging his bottle of vodka or something. So it sort of sets the pace. All right. So I'm going to start off with a record that I've had for many years by an artist who I really like, known as Ukulele Ike, who during the 1980s actually had sort of a revival of some of his songs. Some of you probably have seen the film Pinocchio. another thriller. In any case, in the Disney film, this is Ukulele Ike sings the famous song. Does anybody know what that song is by any chance? Very famous song from Pinocchio.
When You Wish Upon a Star.
That is correct.
Oh.
So it is Ukulele Ike Cliff Edwards. Cliff Edwards was born in Hannibal, Missouri. To our American friends, might ring a bell as the birthplace of Mark Twain. It's right on the Mississippi across from Illinois. So here we have Ukulele Ike playing a wonderful song called Anything You Say, written by great songwriter Walter Donaldson, who wrote My Blue Heaven, My Baby Just Cares for Me, a whole bunch of other famous songs. So here he is, a very witty little song on a Columbia Vivatonal. Some of you are very familiar with these. I think, Paul, you would probably back me on their wonderful pressings. I think they're the best pressings made during that decade. In any case, here's Ukulele Ike with Anything You Say. That listen to the lyrics. They're quite cheeky at times, but they're great. Let's go, Ike. Record was not a hit. I don't know why. Probably sold okay. How's that for volume? Okay.
Here we are,
That's good.
so happy to declare we are, and smiling just like we are, like lovers all do. I could see exactly how things should be. I had to give in, you see, 'cause I had to get you. It looks like you like having your own way. It looks like I like everything you say.
Clever
It
little
looks
song.
like you like Cadillac toupee. It looks like I like everything you say. We like a lot of lovers do. I've got a lot of skies that's blue. We'll raise a garden and family someday. I beg your pardon, everything you say.
Great backup musicians.
Yeah.
Great record.
Good sound.
Yeah.
It looks like you like having your own way. It looks like I like everything you say. We live in Jersey or Philadelphia. We'll even live in Brooklyn, baby. Anything you say. We'll build a cottage down where the roses grow. A cute little place for the weekend get to go. My brother Jake dear would like to come and stay. That's my mistake, dear. Anything you say.
There you go. Beautifully recorded, balanced, and great backup musicians. I didn't get a chance to do an awful lot of research on some of these records as personnel, but I'm sure there's some very competent musicians backing Ukulele Ike up there. I probably wouldn't be surprised to find out who they are. Okay, ready to dance your butt off. Here we go. This is the Manhattan Dance Makers, who I, again, haven't really researched, but I assume that they're a pickup group, maybe Ben Burney, I don't know, maybe a Columbia studio band, top musicians. These guys are very good. It's an interesting song called She's Driving Me Wild. I don't recognize the songwriters, but it doesn't really matter. It's probably from around 1925 or 26, but it's rather futuristic and it's ahead of its time. So it's called She's Driving Me Wild. If you want to get out of your seats and just shake for a while, this is it. There you go.
Yeah.
Some shaking myself here. I think I'll turn this around so we get a little better amplitude, vibration or something. Anyway, it's called She's Driving Me Wild. You can figure out what this song is about. This record probably made at the height of the Charleston craze. You hear the syncopation, dotted quarter notes, the whole bit. Use the dance to this one, didn't you, Paul? Typical of the 20s music, fast, zippy. You need a few good shots before you hit the dance floor. Would help. There's your Charleston right there. Yeah. Dotted eighth notes. Little solo work if you're so inclined. Dance by yourself over the corner. You want to lose weight. Dance to this stuff. Cymbal clash at the end, sort of typical of 1920s music. It was a sign that the record was over and you could pick up the bodies off the floor. The people had passed out or whatever. Okay, this really is dance your ass off music, believe me. Okay, She's Driving Me Wild. Great song, fabulous stuff. It is now time for our question, and you could win a record.
Yeah.
Who, whatever, fuck it. You're on.
Listen closely, guys. So,
Yes.
Al Capone epitomized the 1920s gangster boss, for which crime was Al incarcerated in the early 1930s.
What did they get Al on? What crime? I think I heard it.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
correct.
you are the winner. I'm not sure what the record is. I think it's Johnny Marvin. Singing Half a Moon. That record made Johnny Marvin a star. Okay? Anyway, there you go. Great song. What's next? Billy Hayes and his orchestra, New Orleans band. Again, way ahead of their time. This record, I suspect, is probably from the late 1920s. It's in great shape. It's lucky for me. It's called Sittin' and Whittlin'. And if you listen to it, it sounds ahead of time. Its time. So I'll play it or part of it. Called Sittin' and Whittlin'. It's sort of a precursor of Western swing. That's the vibe I get from it. So I'm not sure what vibe you're going to get from it. We'll see.
What are you doing there, Simon? Oh, just sitting and whittling.
Sort of Western swing stuff.
I'm a happy-go-lucky cub, never quarrel and never fuss. Life to me is what we've got, sitting and whittling all day long. Nothing special for me to do, that's the reason my sky is blue. I'm just sort of run along, sitting and whittling all day long. I don't ask for anything and I don't ask for help. Satisfied with everything, including darn good health. Never worried and never blue. There's a reason I'm telling you. How can anyone go wrong? Sitting and whittling all day long. Come along, let's make merry. Down at the Huck and Bee. Applejack and good blackberry. We'll have a jamboree.
Anyway, we get the impression, but it sort of, I'm not sure, predicts Western swing, but it certainly sounds like Western swing before the term was used. Anyway, that was Billy Hayes and his orchestra. Something a little more serious, a little different. Charles Lindbergh, a great celebrity of the 20s, Lindbergh baby and everything. Lindbergh's reputation, of course, went down a few notches during the Second World War, and also pictures of him standing beside Hermann Goering didn't help. So there was a certain amount of dislike of Lindbergh. His star fell to a certain extent, not with everybody. In any case, there was a series of recordings that Victor did. They seemed to sell all right, of his reception in both New York and in Washington. Also, President Coolidge appears on some of them, not on this particular side. But this is from from Washington, D.C., Lindbergh's reception at the naval base in Washington. I hope I got the right side. One side is interested and the other's not. We'll see.
And now it seems to me that
Play a bit of this.
Colonel Lindbergh, he's taking off his hat and bowing to the crowd and standing up. His mother seems to be still seated. And now I see the policeman and
Living history.
some of the crowd back onto the sidewalk.
I know a feeling.
He's entirely surrounded by cavalry. I hadn't thought that. There's a group of cavalry, and then Colonel Lindbergh's car, and then more cavalry, and then the rest of the parade. And now I can see Mrs. Lindbergh, and as they turn for a minute, I can see Lindy himself, receiving with his usual modest demeanor the plaudits of this huge crowd. Now listen to this cheering.
Everyone on the reviewing stand turns back into position to watch this boy arrive. Everybody in the seats, 150,000 people, are straining their necks and climbing onto anything an inch high to 3 feet high, from a piece of wood to a chair. See if they can't get the first glimpse. Photographers, of course, as usual, are all over the lot. Thousands of them up here. Here's the boy. He's come forward. Unassuming, quiet, a little droop to his shoulders. He's tired out.
very serious, and awfully nice.
Anyway, Lindbergh is not on this particular side, but he does appear on some other recordings linked to this. Anyway, there you are. It's from the naval base at Washington, near the Chesapeake Bay. So you hear the crowds. I'm not sure how they would have recorded that, whether it would be off an NBC or ABC radio feed. I'm not sure how it was done, but you hear the crowds there cheering Lindbergh, and it's really quite something. It's living history. I can think of perhaps maybe some other famous moments in American history after Lindbergh, maybe FDR's speech about Pearl Harbor, the moon landing, whatever. But it's certainly historic. George Gershwin, famous composer, wrote a great show called Funny Face. The title song is really good, and this one, I'm sure you will know. Before we do it, we have another question.
Another question.
And another winner, maybe. Who
In
knows?
1927, Calvin Coolidge was the U.S. president. Who was Canada's prime minister at this time? Who is he?
You got it.
You got it.
Mackenzie King. He rolled with his dog. Poor doggy. What's that, Mr. King? Congratulations. Good for you. I'm not sure what the prize was. Oh, yeah, that's great. Jukebox Saturday night. This is Sunday night, but you could still play it. Have a good time. There we go. Anyway, here is Victor Arden and Phil Ullman and their orchestra. They were twin pianists, played in most of the Gershwin shows and the Ziegfeld Follies too as well. Very famous. And the vocalist is Johnny Marvin, I believe. Yes. And the song needs no introduction. You will know it when you hear it. One of the best versions of this song that I've heard. So take it away, Johnny Marvin. Who could name this song? Yes, it's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
You hear the two pianos going. It was very popular with some larger bands, would have the two pianos. Also, Guy Lombardo used two or twin pianos in some of his dreadful records. Is that what I look like? Great song. Oh, we're doing it on time, Okay, I'm going to just maybe truncate this a little bit, if nobody objects. I imagine I'm doing this with a Gershwin song. I'm crazy about Gershwin. The title song, Funny Face, is also wonderful as well. Okay, who we got here? Okay, Gloria Swanson. Queen of the movie studios of the 1920s. I don't think I've seen any of her films from that period. Sunset Boulevard, made in the early 1950s with Gloria Swanson, and she plays a faded movie star living in sort of a Zorro-like mansion And there's a very spooky scene of Gloria Swanson coming down the stairs, and she looks witch-like, like Hecate, the queen of the witches. But if Sunset Boulevard is wonderful, the title, of course, is symbolic as well. It's a street in Los Angeles, but Sunset Boulevard could mean many things. And for some of these unfortunate Hollywood people, Sunset Boulevard was Sunset Boulevard, you know, for them. In any case, we have Gloria Swanson. She actually had a lovely voice. I thought she sounded very nice. It's called a song with a somewhat ambiguous title called I Love You So Much That I Hate You. Gloria, take it away. I'll be passing this book around shortly. Hollywood Babylon. There's a picture of La Swanson in here. She spent thousands and thousands of dollars a week on jewelry and clothing and God knows what else. Total extravagant lifestyle. Okay, but hey, it's Hollywood. So here's one of her recordings. She didn't make very many, maybe 3 or 4 sides. And she quite a nice voice. Very good voice. Sing it out, Gloria. Okay, we'll just catch it at the interlude there for the second verse if nobody really objects. But you get a general idea. I was quite surprised when I found this record and played it, how good her voice was. I thought maybe it's not so hot, stick to acting. She had quite a nice voice, actually. All right, the band of Jean Goldhead, very popular, major band of the 1920s, early 1930s. French classically trained pianist. Started a band in Detroit and in the Chicago area, very popular. Played the Royal York here in Toronto, the King Eddie a number of times. One of their stars was Vic Spiderbeck, the cornet trumpet player. He's not on this recording, but it's still a great record. A friend of mine who's a real expert on 20s music considered this perhaps the very best recording of the 1920s, and I really can't argue. It's a fabulous record. It's called I'm Gonna Meet My Sweetie Now. I think we have, before we get to Jean Goldhead, we have another record to give away. Could you believe this? My God, I feel like Tom's Place, the salesman. That's not where I bought this, by the way.
You mean Kingston Market?
No, this came from the Kensington Thrift Shop. Anyway, here we go.
Here we go. A piano virtuoso and star at 19, composer of such hits as Swanky, I've Got a Crush on You, Love It's Here to Stay. Who is he? Yeah. A piano virtuoso and star at 19. Anyone?
Porgy and Bess?
Oh, yeah. That was the answer?
No, that's just something else that he wrote. Porgy and Bess, you know, summertime and the living is easy.
Yeah. Oh, good, yeah.
We got an answer right over here,
I knew that.
I think. Was it? Oh, okay, what the heck do I know? We have a winner. All right, so you have a recording and I'm not sure what it is. I think it's part of the Rhapsody in Blue, with George Gershwin himself playing on the record. Can you beat that? Holy Hannah. Here's Gene Goldcat. I'm gonna meet my sweetie now. And if you want to get up and dance, this will do it. Great musicians on here, not Beiderbecke, but the Dorsey brothers are on this. I think Joe Venuti, the jazz violinist, is on this recording as well. Some heavy hitters. Baritone saxophone. Joe Venuti.
I'll stop the bidding at $5 for that record, Don.
Keep going.
I like it.
It's a nice start, but it's not a finish. There we are. Anyway, these records really from the mid to late 20s, a departure from a lot of the band jazz, what they call jazz, before. If you listen to records made 1920, 1921, it's pretty tedious stuff. The instrumentation is not very interesting. It's not imaginative. There's very few modulations or key changes. It just tends to grind on. If you listen to a recording like this, you can see the variation in the orchestration. It's very, very cleverly done. Very good selling record, by the way. Okay, Bessie Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody here know Bessie? Oh, there you go. I knew you would, Peter. All right, this is one for you. It's called Oh Daddy. Oh Daddy Blues. It's Bessie Smith. Clarence Williams, here we get into the scandal part here. Clarence Williams accompanied Bessie on a number of her recordings. Steve O'Neill was telling me about this record and about the feud with Bessie Smith and her accompanist Clarence Williams, and it involved, can you guess? Money! Bessie accused Clarence of sticking his hand in the cookie jar, her cookie jar, and her money, and she beat him up.
Oh.
So, be nice to Bessie, all right? This is called Oh Daddy Blues. Daddy was used an awful lot, didn't literally mean daddy. Any idea what it meant?
Your man.
Yes, your lover, your male lover, maybe a little older. Daddy could also do something that the young guys probably were not prepared to do, is spend money on you. Sugar Daddy, yes. Here's Bessie. I may not play at all. 1923 or so. That's Clarence before she got beat him up.
I'm fading away. My love is all the feeling most every day. Why don't you know why? Because I'm wrong about you. And if you care for me, if you will listen to my plea.
What are we doing for time?
It's just coming up to 2 o'clock, so you're okay.
Okay, so we'll just take a little bit past 2.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't see Danny here.
There is it, the green hat.
That's Danny?
Yeah.
You sure?
Danny Martin.
And Coke needs you.
Anyway, you get the idea. I'm not going to play some of these all the way through. As much as I like Bessie Smith. I found this record as a teenager in Ogdensburg, New York. We often in high school drove into New York State to drink. For records, because the age was lower there. But that's found this record is Oh Daddy Blues. On the other side is Baby Won't You Please Come Home. It's in wonderful shape. Bessie Smith's records are very collectible. Although they were popular, they sold well. But the catch is, Danny would back me up on this. Hi, Danny. That's really you, is it?
Yep.
Okay. Can you bring in WABC with that hat? No, okay. Her records are fairly easy to find, but they're hard to find in really good shape. And I was very fortunate to find this record. I think it's time, and it is, for question number 4, record number 4, and winner number 4. Can you believe this? 4 free records coming from me?
Wow.
So, the famous bass baritone, also a scholar and civil rights supporter, hassled by the Congress in the 1950s, Red Ford. Who is he?
He knows.
Yeah, I know.
Old man.
I know.
No.
So this is the question.
Yeah, I'll maybe read it out because some people couldn't understand it. I'm not sure if I can either. Anyway, famous bass baritone, mainly a bass, also a scholar, lawyer, civil rights activist, and hassled by Congress in the 1950s. The McCarthy clampdown. His records were removed from the record stores by order of Congress. They really screwed him up on that, and they
Paul Robeson.
passport from him, so he could not leave the United States. There was a period that he did record some records in England, because they wouldn't record him anymore.
Correct.
Yeah, Paul Robeson. There we
Paul
go.
Robeson.
Yes, Paul.
That's what I said.
Well, you'll have to shout it out louder.
Okay. Paul Robeson.
You gotta miss the record earlier.
You got my drift. Okay, George Olson had some very big hit records. One, the Varsity Drag, which some of you know, the Black Bottom, which was a dance craze named after the mud flats of the river going through Nashville, Tennessee, and of Jerry Kern's song Who. These sold millions of copies. This one didn't, but it's a great jazz thing. George Olson, by the 1930s, was slipping into, not his dotage, but his music sounded that way. It became rather society music, kind of tedious, sort of like some of the other bands at that time, which were called Mickey Mouse bands, as opposed to hot jazz bands. So George Olson, music became rather saccharine at times. Things like a terrible song called The Last Roundup. Oh, anybody know it? No. Oh, you're not missing a damn thing. It's terrible. Anyway, this is one of his very early recordings. It's one of the very first Victor Electrics. And it's called, what the right record? He's the Hottest Man in Town. Nobody ever played this when I walked in the room. But it's a great jazz record before he turned soft and saccharine as of Guy Lombardo and some of those other bands. It's a bit noisy. It's an acoustic. Yeah, I thought not electrical. In any case, it'll give you a real workout to dance to. This stuff. Just try it sometime. Here, if you want to. They don't let up. They just keep jazzing all the way through this record. Not time to take a breath. There we are, George Olson and his music. Great stuff. I'd love to find a better copy of this record. I've been looking for a while. Eventually, I'm sure it'll turn up. This is an average condition, so it sounded a bit noisy. The record is so good, who the hell cares? Anyway, we have, would you believe this? Another question, we have another answer, and we have another record.
This hit song was featured in a 1929 film, Hollywood Review.
Mm-hmm.
In 1950, a major film with Jen Kelly and others named the song.
In the rain. I got it, I said the rain.
You said rain, but you didn't say singing. They could be doing all kinds of things in the rain.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys like to share, I can break it.
Then you
Yeah.
can break the record in half. There you go.
Oh, I didn't know.
No. He doesn't get it. He just said rain. They could be doing anything in the rain.
You knew I had.
Bad mind. That's what I get for reading Hollywood Babylon. By the way, that book is going around,
That's right.
like a lot of things. Where is it right now?
What?
Oh, okay. Danny? Hi. All right. Okay. Don't get lost in that book, Danny. Bad pictures in there. Okay.
He's already ripped the pages out.
Well, he probably has by now. They've up in his bedroom wall before we know it. Okay. This is a very popular song written by Kahn, I forget his first name, and Gus Kahn and Irving Caesar, who Irving Caesar wrote the lyrics to, Swanee, and George Gershwin wrote, of course, the music. This is a song called Crazy Rhythm. Some of you probably know it. I think it's from a film, from a musical comedy called Here's How, H-O-W-E, Johnny Marvin, with probably Nat Shilkut Orchestra in the background. Goes Crazy Rhythm. You're driving me crazy too. There we go. You'll recognize it, most of you.
I feel like the river you over on the very hot town. Water is about to give me I play while the city burns down. Through all its nightlife I feel away. It's not the right life but think of the pain. Someday I will get goodbye and put the fiddle away and I'll play. Crazy rhythm, here's the doorway. I'll go my way if you go your way. Crazy rhythm, from now on we're through. Here's where we have a showdown. I'm too high hat and you're too low down. Crazy rhythm, here's goodbye to you. They say that when a highbrow meets a lowbrow, a walking along the way. Soon that highbrow he has no brow into the shame and to blame. What's the use of prohibition? You produce the same condition. Crazy rhythm, I go crazy too.
Get some first-class musicians backing the singer. I don't know who they are to find out.
Crazy rhythm, here's the doorway. I'll go my way and you go your way. Crazy rhythm, from now on we're through. Here's where we have a showdown. I'll go high.
Anyway.
You're too low down.
Everybody knows that song. A nice version of it by Johnny Marvin, already a star, of course, by the time this record was made. So there we are. Okay, well, Paula Negri, does the name ring a bell? Maybe two bells? Three? Paula Negri. Famous Hollywood star. I'm surprised nobody knows about her. Somewhat of a scandalous life. Best noted for her performance, shall we say, at the funeral of Rudolph Valentino. By the way, Valentino only made one recording that I'm aware of. So if you find one, let me know. Any more of them. But big send-off for Rudolph Valentino in New York. Paula Negri, already a sort of flirtatious Hollywood starlet, absolutely went berserk at the funeral. I guess not exactly at the funeral, but they had them on display, had them laid out there, and she went completely berserk, yelling and screaming, crying, screaming to people around that Valentino had promised to marry her, even though Valentino's widow was probably 10 feet away. She caused such a disturbance that the cops had to be called and took her out of there as well. So here she is, Paula Negri, She had the habit of marrying very wealthy men, and in any case, she missed her chance with Rudy Valentino. There's a picture in the book that's going around, Hollywood Babylon. There's a picture of Paula Negri there, emoting in front of the casket of Rudolph Valentino. Here she is singing a Spanish song, I think it's Spanish in English, I think, called Two Guitars. She had not a bad voice. Play a bit of it. I don't know where Paula is. Where is she? Hello? Sorry. Maybe I got the wrong side, whatever. That's not Paula Negri. Oh, there she goes. Hey. Okay, I'm going to again cut her short. I don't think she sang that at the Valentino affair. I hope not. But she did cause quite a disturbance, apparently. Paula Negri, there we are. Made a number of records. Yes, it's a British pressing. I don't know whether this was released in the United States or not. Possibly. I have some of her American Victors too. This happens to be a British HMV pressing. Two guitars. Last but not least, then we have our final countdown, is Lupe Velez, probably the most tragic person on recordings that I have here. Lupe Velez, known as the Mexican Spitfire, arrived in Los Angeles in the mid-1920s, and the city's never been the same since. She certainly got around. She had numerous affairs with, say, John Gilbert, who was a very famous actor during that time. She married Tarzan.
No.
Yes.
No.
Johnny Weissmuller, fresh from the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, and she married him. She married Tarzan. She was in the movie with him. So I suppose anything's possible. She had some serious drug issues and behavior issues. She was taken to court by Weissmuller at one point because she wouldn't stop biting him and left welts and marks all over his marble-esque body, okay? So that marriage only lasted, I think, something like 18 months, and she moved on from there. And she hired young men to be with her at various times and for various purposes. Again, she drank a lot, and she became chronic depressive. And at one point, she took a handful of Seconal and called it a night. And she committed suicide. So there's a rather sad testament to Lupe Velez, and there are a couple of pictures of Lupe in that book that is going around. So here's a little bit, a song called Mi Amigo, my friend, I guess, or my lover, in Spanish. Shouldn't say which lover it is, it could be any of them.
It goes
song was written by a fellow by the name of Harry Warren, who wrote a lot of popular songs. So he wrote this in Spanish, Mi Amado, which means my beloved. Take it away, Lupe. Records are hard to find. Don't make very many of them. Anyway, she did complain to some of her friends that she was depressed because she couldn't act and she couldn't sing. I don't know about her acting. I agree that she couldn't sing well. In any case, that's Lupe Velez. If you see of any of her records, grab them. They are very hot collector's items. Anyway, that is the last of them. I'd like to thank you all as an audience. I thought more of you would get up and dance during some of those hot jazz numbers. But in any case, the spirit is moving you, I hope. So I enjoyed presenting this to me. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And we have one final. Can you believe this? This is number 6.
This is the last one, so if you want a record, you have to get this question.
Damn right.
She's known as the Doop 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 girl. Had a baby doll voice, later sued Betty Boop. Who is she? That's correct. Correct. That's the last record.
Helen Kane.
Helen Kane, yeah. I want to be loved by you.
Don, thank you very much for
You're
another
welcome.
entertaining
Absolutely.
presentation.
There we go.
What I like is you don't just play the records, you tell so much about the musicians and the history, the time, and you just make it so interesting. Thank you.
Not to mention this fancy jacket.
Oh,
There we are.
yeah.
I'd like to thank Mike Bryan for the loan of this jacket.
You know, you look very distinguished. It could be easily a Sir somebody, Sir Kelly, you know what I'm saying?
No.
Well, you just have that old British look about you.
British?
Well,
That's
you're
more
pretty
like
very-
south side of Chicago, isn't it?
You're pretty nice
Boardwalk
about it,
Empire, here we come. Okay, thank you again, folks.
Just tell people that I'm gonna charge.
Next time, bring your dancing shoes. It's fun.
I think you could use them.
Would you have joined us dancing?
Oh, of course.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
just-
got all
I
the.
just- I
Oh,
just
okay.
tried to throw it in a way that he wouldn't.
Okay, and so we're gonna be taking a 15-minute break momentarily. But Mike wants me to also point out to everybody on Zoom, he's gonna go around with his camera and describe what's on the auction table so that you have a better idea of what will be coming up. Thank you again.
right.